I have a yes and no question for the panel. We'll get it. You'll have a chance to explain anything later if you like. But my question is this. Do you think that the Lacey Act, a law that's 113 years old now, was and is a good idea, that it has a value to protect the illegal importation of living substances or post-living substances from other countries? Do you, panel, agree that that is well intended, starting over here?
Yes.
It's a great idea.
I'm CRS, so I'll have to qualify it.
I figured you'd say something like that. That's okay. We'll give you a pass.
Provided it is consistent with our legal norms and our Constitution, yes.
Yes.
Yes, we qualify by making sure the due process is applied.
Right. So at least conceptually, what could be wrong with protecting against the illegal importation of substances that could create, of course, endangered species from other nations? Well, we'll get into that a little bit. Now, here's another question, and I'll start with you, Mr. Asner. Is it possible that in the wording of the 2008 amendments to the Lacey Act, we're subjecting the United States citizens potentially to Sharia law in certain countries?
I'm not familiar with Sharia law, so I don't know how it regulates, if at all, the taking of wood or wood products or plants products. But I can tell you that certainly if Sharia law says you cannot steal from your neighbor, and I suspect it does, then yes, it would incorporate that concept in it. Now, would it incorporate all concepts of Sharia law? No, because what it requires is it be a law.
Let me get to some others. I understand. I get your good answer. Thank you. That potentially it could, although limited, not necessarily all of Sharia law, and I certainly understand that. Just to point out, countries that we do trade with include Yemen, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Pakistan, Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, Sudan, parts of Indonesia, Nigeria, United Emirates. So certainly, at one point or another, we're likely to interact with this. Other panel members, our attorneys, do you have any comments about, is there the potential, whether limited, whether expanded, laws that could be ordinarily found to be unacceptable in this country, as we know Sharia law often can be? Could we, in fact, be subjecting our own citizens to Sharia law?
Yes, sir. The Act doesn't limit the term foreign law. Whatever foreign country adopts as its law must be treated as that. If I could also add, it's not theft in the United States to capture wildlife, because no one has a property interest in wildlife. So it's catching fish is not like stealing your neighbor's car. You have a property interest in your car, but for fish that are in the rivers and streams, no one has a property interest in those. So it's not the same.
Yes.
I think that's right. I mean, the fundamental problem here, and frankly it was recognized in a case called United States Bryant, the laws that you were applying have to be defined so that the people who are subject to them are able to understand them and apply them. Michigan is not Madagascar. Indiana is not India. And South Dakota is not Saudi Arabia. And unfortunately, the Lacey Act doesn't draw that distinction, at least as it's been
So you're suggesting that if there are laws in other nations that could be completely at odds with our culture and our understanding and our own law and our own civilization, that we could theoretically, by default, be subjecting our citizens to the laws of that nation?
That's correct.
I would also agree. I mean, you can think of other examples as well. Let's assume that Venezuela and Bolivia, which is going to offer asylum to William Snowden, were to have a law saying that none of their exports can be shipped to the United States because they don't like the United States or we're an ally with Israel or something like that. Therefore, any goods coming from those countries would violate the Lacey Act. And I think, again, there's another example where the law can be misused.
Quickly before my time runs out, just to throw it out to the three panelists on this end, do you agree with Mr. Asner that The Lacey Act does not subject Americans to foreign law?
It certainly does. The Supreme Court has made clear that the violation of a statute is a question of law. The statute here requires proof of a violation of foreign law.
Yes.
Yeah, and I agree, and what makes it more complicated is that when the courts are to determine what that foreign law is, you have days and days of hearings as to what this law means, and in the McNabb case, the Honduran government said, here's the meaning of these laws, they're invalid under our country, and yet the 11th Circuit said, no, we'll decide what your law means, and because of that, they were subjected to these draconian penalties.
Real quickly?
Yes, it does.
Yes. Okay. All right. My time is